Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for inviting me to this fascinating conference. I'd always thought that the worst road conditions were in the United Kingdom until I heard Greg's presentation. And I think I'm going to begin by quoting from a survey that was carried out by the Royal Automobile Club Foundation during the 2010 general election in the United Kingdom. The RAC Foundation found that people's top priority for transport for the incoming government was condition of roads and pavements. And that is an issue on which we built in our all-party parliamentary group, which was set up in the United Kingdom in order to try and increase the public and political pressure on government to invest in the maintenance of the road infrastructure. And the success of the group is, I think, that we have most recently at the end of December had an announcement from the Secretary of State for Transport that he is guaranteeing for the local road network £1 billion extra each year between 2015 and 2020. And in so doing, he is answering one of the campaigning points that we've been making in that we need to have long-term stable funding if we're going to be able to look after our highway maintenance. And the similar announcements have been made in relation to the motorways and the main trunk roads. The way in which our group was set up was that it is sponsored and funded, although the costs are relatively modest, by the Asphalt Industry Alliance. So we had a commercial interest there. How did that commercial interest marry in with the political interest and the government? The way it married in is that the experts from the industry are able to come forward with ideas as to how better value for money can be achieved. They're not just lobbying that more money needs to be spent on their particular product. What they're saying is, if you spend it in this way, then you're going to be able to get a bigger bang for your buck. And meanwhile, you've got politicians saying, we've got a problem with our electors. They're saying that the quality of our roads is declining, and therefore we want to have more investment in our road infrastructure. And then you've got the highway engineers, sadly a declining breed within the United Kingdom. They come along and they say, well, we've got an interest in this because we've got professionals and we want to be able to ensure that we have the best quality solutions to the problems. All these groups come together and we have regular meetings, and we produced one report in this during the course of this Parliament. And some people will know we've got a general election coming up in May this year. And this report was entitled Managing a Valuable Asset, Improving Local Road Condition. And we didn't do any original research for this, but we brought together a mass of the research that had already been done. And in so doing, we have enabled politicians at a local level to have the ammunition to enable them to argue for a greater share of resources for their local roads. One of the problems which we've had in the United Kingdom for years is that whereas quite a lot of local services are statutory responsibilities and councils feel that they need to give them priority for the expenditure of money, they've been often using the money that should be going into highway maintenance for other purposes. And what this group and the information we've been able to get together has enabled us to do is to inform these local politicians of the case for better funding of the roads that they've got. And one of the in doing this, we've also been able to draw to their attention the enormous waste of resource which is engaged in repairing potholes. I think we've estimated that some 2 million potholes have been repaired in the United Kingdom in the last year. That's not something to be proud of. It's something to be ashamed of, that there have been so many potholes, many of which could have been prevented if there had been proper maintenance carried out on those roads. But one of the consequences of having potholes is that people trip over potholes and vehicles get damaged in potholes. And in London, for every £2 spent on repairing potholes, another £1 is spent paying out for compensation claims. And what a waste of money that is. So we're able then to persuade local politicians and the government, for that matter, that it's in everybody's interest to reduce the expenditure on potholes and have proper long-term maintenance, and thereby reduce the incidence of insurance claims for compensation. And another issue relating to investment is that by investing in the highway network, we are able to say, well, we are looking after our assets. And one of the, I think, the very useful exercises that was carried out was to require local authorities to have a valuation of their highway assets. Because when those valuations were carried out, and the conclusions we reached was that the value of our local road network is some £400 billion, and the motorways and trunk roads are about £100 billion, we're then able to say, well, those are valuable assets, and yet we're spending less than or about 1% of that value on maintaining them every year. Would you only spend 1% of the value of your assets, whether it be your house or anything else, on maintenance and repair? And the answer is, it is not. So as soon as you're able to get councillors and others to think in terms of the value of the asset and the consequences of allowing that asset to deteriorate, then you're able to up the political game on this. And so somebody asked me earlier on whether I expected the issue of road maintenance to be a big feature in the forthcoming general election campaign. And my view is that it probably won't be now, because of the way in which the government has engaged with the argument and with lobbyists such as in our APPG, because they have now decided to invest extra money spread over a 5-year period. They've also introduced challenge funds with conditions attached to them, so that if highway authorities don't produce the necessary highway maintenance plans and have what are called asset management plans in place, then they won't be able to get access to this extra funding. So our APPG is a coalescence of different interests, but what we all have in common is that we are going to be for the benefit of longer-term thinking and planning and investment in the all-important highway infrastructure. Thank you.